Hey everyone, what's up? It's a live Reckoner podcast, episode 1, live thingo, episode 0, pilot. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's we're giving it a shot here on the YouTubes of all things. I need to keep looking up at the top of my screen because that's where my camera is. But joining me, as always, the one, the only, Mr. Anthony Aegis.
Hello. I'm here. We're in different states.
We are in different states. Hang on, let me shift it to this thing. We'll do it. We're 2 up. There we go. We've got both of us on the screen. I'm just going to zoom you out a bit. There we go. Yeah, we got the 2 of us in different states. First time in 2020, I think. We were trying to figure that out before, but
I checked just before we started recording. The last episode was on the 22nd of December 2019.
Damn.
So could have gone a whole year without recording.
We should have done it. We should have tried. We should have seen how that had gone.
Yeah, keep the audience keen.
Yeah, definitely. At least you've got a nice mic to record with.
It's a classic Rode pod mic. I only use Rode gear, and I know it's made in Australia and it's going to work and it's not too expensive, so you can't go wrong with Rode.
That's definitely true. I think I've got. Well, we had the Mixer to review, which was an awesome piece of kit, which I would love to have right now to do all of this.
You're very handy right now.
Yeah. Or what I really would have liked. I almost the other day bought a Stream Deck, the Elgato Stream Deck.
Ah, yes.
But literally to just give it a go for this thing,
Is that the one where you press buttons and it does it's kind of like a shortcut keyboard?
Yeah, it's basically just macros. Yeah, so you, all the Twitch people use it and stuff, and you just click on things and you can tell it, I want to open this program and press Command 2 or whatever, which would, in this instance, just switch to a nice shot of yourself there, Ant. So you'd be on the live stream, just you, or we could go back to me, and I could just put little icons there and have it do cool stuff,
Nice.
But I didn't quite pull the trigger on that one.
How much is it?
I think it's $250 or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's not cheap.
It's not impulse buy level.
No, not really. What I can do is I can actually just, in this world of live podcasting on video, which we're definitely not used to, I can show everyone what that looks like. I can have this picture-in-picture thing, and so everyone could just. Oops! If I no, it's not working. Oh, there we go. Yeah. What you can do with that? It's kind of working. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so now we can talk about it, and there'll be a video playing to everyone that's watching the stream of the Elgato Stream Deck.
Ah, there you go.
Yeah,
fancy.
I know. It's amazing what you can do with technology these days.
If you had a person whose job was just to do that stuff, it would be a lot easier.
Oh, it'd be a producer. Yeah.
Yes.
That'd be
a slave, a monkey. Yeah.
If anyone wants to apply for the job, they're more than welcome to.
Pays poorly, and you got to work with us. So.
Pays very poorly.
Yeah.
First podcast for 2020, and we've left the run a little late.
Yeah, I wonder if there's been any big news in 2020. I don't think anything's really happened, has there?
No, nothing at all, really, I don't think. Well, as you alluded to before, I'm in another state for a start. That's different. Just because of some unusual thing called COVID. I don't think anyone was expecting that to happen, were they?
No. I haven't. I was going to see you prior to, I think maybe March or in April, and couldn't come and see you because Melbourne is. I don't live in Melbourne, so right guys. So I couldn't go into Melbourne to see him. And it's just like, yeah.
Yeah, it was a weird time. I think it was just before the second lockdown, right? We were going to catch up. We'd organised,
Yep.
and then couldn't make it happen and then it just kind of all went downhill from there, eh? And then
Yeah, it's been. I mean, it hasn't been that bad for me in like regional Victoria because there's been no kind of curfew. There's been no the 5K restriction stuff. For me, life's been pretty much normal. So I can't go to Melbourne, other than and the masks. Got to wear a mask every time I go outside. But it really hasn't been that different for me. So I'm quite lucky because I work from home already.
yeah,
But it's starting to annoy me now that I can't go to Adelaide. I can't go to Sydney. Normally by now I'd have gone interstate a few times, or I would have gone to Melbourne a few times for sure, but I can't see people in Melbourne. So it's more of an annoyance for me compared to some people who lost their jobs and things like that, or have had family members die and they can't go see them.
yeah.
That's like way worse.
Yeah, it's been a brutal year for everyone, I think, and I mean that's the reason I'm over in SA. Not primarily because of COVID. Unfortunately, my mum got really sick, and for those of you playing along at home, welcome to my mother's bedroom.
The old spare room.
With the lovely bedspread pattern behind me that people are probably enjoying, and the wide shots here, or these curtains that are off to the side. But thankfully, so we had to go through government exemption to get across the border, which was a massive process because she was so unwell that basically it was end of life, and thankfully it didn't turn out to be that, but she's got a long road of recovery ahead of her, and we went through a hellish period of I think maybe 2.5 weeks before we got that exemption to come across to SA, and it ultimately came down to like me blasting on social media like SA Health and all of this other stuff, like why can you, like, my mother is literally dying, the hospital's on board with me coming over, and but I needed this weird letter signed off by the the chief medical officer of South Australia. Anyway, got it in the end, got over here, and I can enjoy a little more freedom.
Yeah, true. I mean, I think South Australia is a good place to be right now. I mean, masks are not mandatory there, are they?
No masks, no. Really, the only restriction is the sort of number of people that you can have inside of a certain area, and social distancing, of course. But yeah, like we just went on a little mini holiday over to Kangaroo Island, which was good, and you can actually get out, drive more than 5Ks, or regional South Australia or city South, like Adelaide City. Excuse me. There's no restrictions on the two, so yeah, it's a little easier to deal with there. And I think I've been here nearly 2 months or so now, after spending 2 weeks in isolation, self-quarantine, which was an exciting period.
What was it, staying like a hotel or thing, or was it just at home or at a house? Or?
Originally, they wanted us to stay in a hotel, which was we had to pay. It was going to be, I think, around $4,000 or $5,000 for 2 weeks, and that was a scary prospect because we started watching all these YouTube videos of people stuck in hotel quarantine. And they're just like losing their minds, like fucking just.
Well, it's kind of like prison, kind of. I mean,
yeah. Like I can understand why people were trying to they were. I wouldn't want to be the person that was escaping and getting out and doing things, but like you watch these people and how big their rooms were, like it was just it's like a hotel room, and they got families in there and stuff. So thankfully, we didn't have to do that. We could stay at my mum's house because she was in hospital anyway, and we could just self-quarantine there, and then the police would sort of randomly come by and check that you were there, which they never did. So,
Okay.
yep, it was interesting, and we had some friends that lived very close, which was really handy, and then dropping off food and those types of things. So it was definitely an experience. But then after 2 weeks, you have a couple of COVID tests through that period. Which, have you ever had one?
No, but is it the one that goes deep far into?
Yeah, that goes right up.
Old brain poke.
Yeah, they're pretty interesting. Hey. After a couple of weeks of that, we had another test, got the all clear, and then it was good. I could immediately go in and visit my mum, and because she was out of ICU.
Back in society.
Yeah. And the whole time been working from home. Doing the.
Well, I mean, you'd be working from home in Melbourne anyway, so.
Well, exactly. I've been working from home since I think it was late Feb. I was supposed to be in Japan in early March, but then we decided to can that, and then been working from home ever since, basically. But yeah, it's good, living the dream over in Radelaide.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you didn't think you'd be there. This is how you spend 2020.
Nah, did not think that at all. And I thought I would have done this sooner, had the podcast sooner.
Yeah.
But
other things take priority.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not just because family is sick or anything, but just because of out of boredom and everything. Everyone's making a podcast, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I made some live podcasting for the sizzle.
Yeah.
And I spent a month learning how to set it up and getting it all ready. I did one episode and it's all right, I've done that. I don't really need to do it again. And yeah, so even me is bored and trying to do a podcast. Gave it a shot.
And our good friend Pete Wells has got a new podcast.
He's got 2, I think. He's got the one. It's a podcast about podcasts.
What's it called? Meta. Here we go.
Yeah. Podcast. He spoke to Julia Gillard, the former Prime Minister of Australia.
Hey, for real?
Yeah. She has a book, or no, she has her own podcast on the same podcast network as Pete, and they're doing some cross promotion. And yeah, he had her on and got to chat to her about her podcast, which I think is about education and empowering women and stuff like that. And
wow, there you go. I've just brought up the website for Pete's Meta, which is through Acast. Yeah.
Acast. Yeah. So everyone should download it so they can juice the stats and you can get paid ad money through it. So
yeah. So what?
Get your bots going. make your scripts.
Julia Gillard, a podcast of one's own. He's got Tegan Taylor, Dr. Norman Swan, Coronacast. Baratundi Thurston, we're having a moment. How to Citizen. Not heard of Baratundi. And Amy Donaldson and Hunter Mulcair, Two Shrinks Pod. Nice.
I mean, there is an echo when it goes to the screen share. Maybe I need headphones.
No, it's because I was sharing system audio. Thanks, Matt. Who's let us know there.
He also let us know prior to the show started that we're talking amongst ourselves and it was broadcasting. So he's very on the ball tonight.
Yeah.
As opposed to us.
I've just muted the system audio, so that should stop that happening. So Ant, we've got zero agenda.
No. No notes.
Zero notes. So we thought we'd just completely wing this pilot episode of doing it live, just seeing how it works. Hey, I've got a story for you. I've got a
Yes.
Adelaide Reckoner story for you.
Oh, okay.
That I am still blown away by, and it'll be a nice shout out to the individual the story is about, who. Well, I'll get to the story. So that's the sizzle for you, which isn't your email newsletter. There you go. There's your plug. Get the sizzle. How much is it now?
It's still $5 a month.
$5.
It's been the same price for 5 years.
Mate, inflation. You got to get that stuff up.
I should.
There, nice, clean, new website. It's just a box.
Yeah, well, that's the Substack default theme. Like, you can't change it.
That's right. I forgot about it.
It's a pain in the ass, Substack. I'm not a fan. I keep meaning to move away. I haven't got around to doing it. I need to do it now that JobKeeper's getting crappier. Like, they reduced the price now. I need to actually put some effort into work.
Well, everyone who hasn't subscribed should jump on it. thesizzle.com.au. It's way better news than what I can get around to writing on Reckoner, that's for sure. But anyway, back to my story. All right, so yesterday it was my partner's birthday. We decided that we would go out for dinner, as you do. Two problems with that. Well, actually, one large problem. It's Adelaide, not many places, and to compound that, it's Monday in Adelaide.
Yeah, nothing. Everything shuts at like 5:35.
It is insane here. Like, I live next to a supermarket right now. On Saturday, it closes at 5 p.m.
Yes.
The supermarket. On Sunday, it doesn't open until midday. It's as a Woolworths. Like, it's not some random sort of.
It's like the only one open like 24 hours, I think, is in like Rundle Mall. And maybe even that one it closes at like 11 or something.
It's crazy. Like, it's like 12 o'clock until I think it's like 4. It's open 4 hours on a Sunday. It's just mental. Anyway, so the problem was Adelaide, Monday night, not a lot open. And I'm from South Australia, so I'm allowed to rag, and I think that's how it works, right?
Yeah, I mean, my wife's from South Australia, so I'm halfway there.
Yeah, it's fine. So there was a very small subset of places that we could go to for dinner. Chose one, looked nice. Shout out to Press Start. Press Star, sorry, not Press Start. Shannon, if you're watching, that's your website. Press Star. Which is a place in Weymouth Street of Adelaide. Get in, sit down, start ordering some food, have a couple of drinks, blah blah blah. And I think we were just eating our first like entrees, and I got a notification. Someone on Twitter had followed me, and I'm like, cool, it happens all the time. I'm used to this shit.
Oh yeah,
yeah, all the time, whatever. Yeah. And so we're just going about our meal. There was a couple sitting in front of us at another table, and it was pretty busy. For those of you who haven't been out to eat in the last 7 months,
it's quite a nice thing.
Yeah, it's a surprisingly nice experience, and I'm not trying to rub that in at all. It was very nice to be able to do that. Anyway, this. I assume there were a couple, but there was a guy and a girl sitting in front of us, and they were having a different sort of meal. But like, we were kind of on this bench, and they were directly opposite us, sitting there. And when you're sort of in a public space and you're like looking around, you don't want to be like directly looking at
eye contact.
Yeah, it's weird. So I was kind of sitting to the side and talking to my partner who was next to me and stuff. Anyway, finished dinner, get home. I don't know, it was like 9:30 or something like that. Pull out my phone, and Twitter notification, pull it up, look at it, and then there was a DM, because my DMs are open on there, and it was like, hey, this guy who'd followed me was, hey, just at Press Star, saw you there, hope you had a nice meal, listen to the podcast all the time, or something to that effect. I'm paraphrasing. I'm like, oh, fuck, what the fuck? Like, some random person in Adelaide who I've never met. His name's Ramon. So if you do listen to this, mate, I apologise. I didn't read the message. I'm terrible at looking at Twitter DMs at the best of times. In the restaurant, and I would have loved you to have just come and say hi, but it wasn't to be. But it was. I don't think I've ever been recognised because of Reckoner anywhere.
It's only happened to me once because of a podcast in public. This was years ago on the old Maxwell podcast. I was on the train talking to my mum on the phone, and the train goes. It's about a half an hour ride from Melbourne CBD to St Albans, and about halfway I finished the phone call. There's a guy sitting behind me, and he goes, "Oh, I thought I recognised that voice. Is your name Anthony? You on a podcast?" I said, "Yes." A Maxwell podcast, yes. And the guy recognised me. I can't remember him now, but yeah, he heard my voice, heard me talking, and knew it was me, and said hello. So that's the first time in a non-tech kind of I've noticed at like a conference, which is pretty obvious. Like, all right, I'm at a conference for a reason. You kind of know, but in a totally random, out in public event, that's the only time I've ever been spotted or noticed.
Yeah,
it's weird.
It is weird.
I don't know how like a real celebrity, like a proper celebrity, would every time they go outside, like a football player, everyone knows, or a Hollywood movie star, constantly going outside and just being people talking to you or wanting to talk to you or waving, or even if they don't wave at you or talk to you, them just noticing you, and that feeling of like, oh, it's that guy, and but that they've seen you.
Yeah.
It's so awkward and annoying. Like, I understand why the celebrities have their own little, their own like big compounds and private jets and stuff, just so they can be left alone and be kept normal.
But I totally get being on the other side, because I've seen people at like conferences and stuff that I know that you listen to them in podcasts or whatever, or you see them on videos these days, and I'm scared shitless. Like, I don't want to go up and talk to them. Like, it's bad enough to go up and ask for a photo with them or something. I don't know. I'm just not.
I think at a conference you're fair game. Like, you go to conferences to network and to meet people. I think that's all right. But outside that, it gets a bit weird. Yeah.
Well, anyway, it was a nice thing, and I feel bad because he obviously recognised me, but maybe he was being polite as well. Like,
I think so.
Dinner
I
and
think
stuff
you
like that.
You probably saw that you were with your partner and didn't want to be disturbed, be weird, just going up to someone, hey, I know you from somewhere we've never met. Yeah, it's a bit awkward. Yeah. I wouldn't interrupt in that situation.
Well, it was nice. Thank you. So, story out of the way. And what have you been doing in 2020?
The sizzle, really. That's about it. All my PR, because prior to coronavirus, half my income was the sizzle. The other half was writing PR garbage for brands that I don't like. So, PR agents who work for like Seagate, Intel,
advertorial stuff.
Samsung, advertorials. Their clients have like briefs for ads that they would put in sponsored blog posts or fake interviews with executives, things like that they would put in magazines and other blogs, and even on like corporate blogs. All that kind of stuff I would write. They'd pay me to write. My name would never be attached. It would just be put up there. But all that work's just gone away. So really, I've just been doing the sizzle past few months, really. that's it. Writing news every day and kind of relaxing job keeper. But now I'm gonna have to when that starts to drop off, I'm gonna have to find some other work to top up the sizzle.
And I mean, because you're counted as regional out there in Victoria, regional Victoria outside of Melbourne, you haven't really been as affected by lockdown and the madness that is staying at home.
In Melbourne. Yeah. Not really. No, I mean, I could always go for a walk as long as I want, wherever I want. I could drive wherever I like. No one's stopped me. It's just if I try to go into Melbourne, that's when there's like the military. That's a bit weird. For a few weeks there were just like army Black Hawks flying past my house at about 3 p.m. They would change shifts, so they would go between Geelong and Bacchus Marsh, which in a chopper, and it just drop off troops and stuff for like
wow.
a few times. So that was a bit weird. Like you'd look up in the sky and you would hear it first, just massive loud helicopter, and then you look up in the sky and it's like, oh yeah, there's the military guarding, this little town, because we're right on the edge of where Melbourne is really.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's been military and police there for ages. But the thing is that there's like tons of back roads to get in. So if you really wanted to actually get into the area, you could easily just don't go on the main highway.
Yeah.
Just go on one of the 7 back roads and you'll get in. So.
Well, we did get stopped by the army, just not too far from your place.
Yeah.
But and then again at the border, obviously.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. But we had our papers. It was like being in like papers, please, or something. It's just like holding them up. Yep, you're right. Yeah. Off you go.
Yep.
It was. It's just bizarre. The whole thing about it's bizarre. Without, like, would you say you were well prepared for being locked down?
Yeah, I think my natural
lifestyle
habitat, his lifestyle, it suits lockdown. It's definitely not taking a mental toll on me. It's not like you get not depressed, but it'd be upset that the fact that people are dying and people can't do what they want. But for me personally, it's not. I haven't been too stressed. I'm lucky that financially I'm not worried. It's not a big deal. I'll be fine. It's a bit annoying. I bought a fancy car just before lockdown, and then I can't drive it anywhere really but now I can, and then having income taken away when I still have to pay back for that car. But other than that, it's been my wife's been busy with uni. For her, it's been actually pretty good.
Yeah,
because she can do it all at home now instead of having to commute to Melbourne to do the uni course. So. But she's been busy with that, so for me it's just been like she's at work, just in a different room. Like our house is big enough that we have a room each where we can work in. But some people have like a kitchen table where they have to share with their kids. Like I can see that being super annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me it's been business as usual really.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a more space back home than what we do in my mum's 1-bedroom unit, but. It's we'll make it do, but I guess like the go-to question that everyone constantly talks about in this current situation is, what are you watching in lockdown? Like what is keeping you entertained?
What have I been watching? I did watch just recently. There's a documentary on Netflix about the Challenger shuttle disaster. That's by J.J. Abrams.
I didn't know Abrams
He
did
was the producer of it. Yeah, that was pretty cool. There's something else I watched that was very good. Halt and Catch Fire. I finally watched the entire thing.
Okay.
That was awesome. That was like, I regret not watching it earlier. Fantastic show about it's set in the 80s. Mm-hmm. The first season was set in the 80s about Texas mainframe manufacturer who decides to make personal computers, like mini PCs, and then getting their first PC out against like IBM and stuff like that. And then it turns into a thing about the internet, about BBS, like communities. First, kind of America Online or CompuServe,
Mm-hmm.
then trying to do that as a startup. Then it goes to them building the internet, like having the first website, the first search engine. And it's a really good series, like perfectly well done, really good series. If you like computers at all, you got to watch it. It's excellent.
See, I think this thing came out, what, 4 years ago? 5 years? 2 years ago?
I think it finished 3 or 4 years ago.
Okay, because I'm sure that I had been told to watch the first season a long time ago and just went,
Yes.
oh yeah, whatever, I'll get to it at one of these days and sort of.
COVID-19 drove me to watch it, and it was worth it.
Wow, yeah, I haven't gone that route yet, but there's like 4 seasons of it now.
Yeah, and it's really they're great. Like I didn't have high expectations. All right, it's about computers. How good can it be?
Mm-hmm.
Normally, computer stuff doesn't translate well, but no, they did a really good job.
Yeah, wow. Okay, I'll add a
soundtrack as well.
Good soundtrack. Is it?
Yeah, all the seasons they release like on Spotify. Each season has its own soundtrack with the producers and the music person explaining why they chose each song. It's really good.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That's all right. I'll show you. What you won't be able to see it, but what I've been watching is everyone's watching me trying to fumble to play the trailer. is Raised by Wolves.
I've not heard of it. Is it a TV show, movie?
It's a TV show. It's on Binge or Foxtel, basically. If you haven't got Binge, but it's Ridley Scott. It's very Prometheus sort of like aesthetic, but essentially mankind has. It's set in the future. You've basically got the people who follow religion, and then you've got the atheists. And mankind's survival on Earth is coming to an end. And what they do is they shoot everyone off to the nearest habitable planet in some solar system. And they can get the atheists there quicker because they send a couple of androids in some sort of spaceship that can travel faster, and then when they land, these androids can actually incubate like IVF humans, and they have 6 children or something on this planet, and then about 9 years later the religious guys catch up and appear, and it turns into this big hubbubaloo between the atheists and the robot parents, which are named Mother and Father, and the religious folk who land. Some of the best sci-fi drama that I've seen on TV in a very, very long time.
Okay.
Really, really cool stuff. Raised by Wolves. And I think it's up to about... Binge are releasing it on like a weekly thing. It's up to episode 9, and there's 11 in the first season. So,
and it's Ridley Scott. He directed it, or just wrote, or produced, or.
Let's see what the trailer says here. I just saw his name pop up before somewhere. I think he definitely had something to do with the first episode. Oh, it says it's from Ridley Scott, so who knows what that means. But I would highly recommend it.
I'm going to add that to my watch list.
Yeah. If anyone's actually watching us live and in the chat, by all means, feel free to contribute to what you've been doing to keep yourselves entertained.
I intended to play a video game for the first time in many years. That is not Civilization. I bought Death Stranding.
Yeah.
It's still in the shrink wrap. I haven't even taken it out of the shrink wrap yet. I need to play it before the PS4 becomes obsolete. But
you haven't got long.
Yeah, so I really want to play that. So I got to find time to set aside and play that. And my wife got a Switch, a Nintendo Switch. We got that back in August. Yeah. So no, we haven't had it long, but she loves it. and that's been fun. It's just been playing Animal Crossing and some Mario game.
Yeah, nice. Um, I never got into Animal Crossing. It wasn't for me.
Yeah, it seems like a waste of time to me, but then again, they're all a waste of time, all these games. So
Well, I played through Last of Us 2. Naturally, had to do that. Last of Us was one of my favourite games of all time. And Last of Us 2, a lot of controversy around it, but oh man, that is so good, so good, such a good.
what was the controversy around it?
Oh, you kind of have to go into spoiler territory for that.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I still haven't played the first one. I've seen people play it on Twitch, but I haven't played it myself.
It's it's well, the first one's without going into too much, people generally know it's been a while, 10 years or something since that came out, 8 years. But this one actually introduces a new sort of protagonist to the picture, which makes it really interesting. So definitely worth checking out.
I assume Last of Us is like $5 on PlayStation or something now. It's a pretty old game.
It might even be free if you've got PlayStation Plus.
Okay.
So yeah, it's worth checking out.
So many games I have not, like games that I should play that I just haven't. Like the past few years, all I've been playing is Civilization. That's it. Like that's been the game I go to play. But whereas when I was a teenager, I would play everything that came out. Like new game, I'm there.
Yeah.
Now it's just like, oh, all right, I'll buy it, and I don't actually get around to playing it. So I've got like 3 or 4 games that are just sitting in the shrink wrap next to the TV there.
Yeah.
The pile of shame.
Even with like, when I was heavily reviewing games and stuff, like I don't know if it just sucked the enjoyment out of it, and I feel like I should be doing something else rather than sitting down and playing it now. Like I had a day off today. It was my last day off after a few days, and then I was like, I'll play a game for a while, and I sat down and played for 2 hours, and I was like, have I just wasted 2 hours?
Yeah, should I be cleaning this or doing that or enjoying other things?
But I did enjoy it. Like I love playing games. Like that's the thing. Like it's a big part. But then I spent 3 hours playing around with doing animated backgrounds for this thing. So I learned a bit of After Effects, which is something I didn't know.
Yeah. It's handy.
Yeah. Marius suggested Ted Lasso, which is on Apple TV.
I've heard a lot of buzz about that.
Yeah.
People seem to enjoy it.
Yeah. And as well as Schitt's Creek, which is an absolutely fantastic show, which I burnt through in the first lockdown. If anyone hasn't seen Schitt's Creek, which is on Netflix in its entirety, 6 seasons, is worth doing. So, a couple of other things that have come through the chat. Someone earlier asked if this was going to be a regular thing, and to be perfectly honest, I don't know. I've been watching a lot of the it's called Back Pocket, which is the old Pocketeers guys from Good Game, from the ABC. They've gone and started their own sort of YouTube channel, and they do like a weekly show. I'll see if I can bring it up here.
The difference between them and us is that they're good at it.
Oh yeah,
like they're properly like proper media personalities who are. Like, it's really hard. Like, back when we did the Mac Talk podcast, like almost 10 years ago now, like there was no one doing podcasts because no one knew how to actually do it. Like it was a nerds game, or like a thing that nerds did. Whereas now you've got proper actors and proper broadcast people who know what they do. It's so hard to compete with that level of professionalism. The effort you have to go to now to get out something that you consider good, something that you would listen to yourself, is just so much. The bar is so high now. It's tough.
It's not easy. I'm showing bits of it in the background while we're talking here, but these guys are they've been doing TV production for a long time, and now they're running it their own studio. They've got their own production company, and they're running it.
It's great that
Thanks, Siri.
actually happened.
What's that?
Siri wants to have 50 cents.
I'm
It's great that like the technology there is now that if you're good at it, the only thing holding you back really is like your time and a little bit of money. For not much cash, you can have as big as audiences as you want on YouTube and on Facebook. You can broadcast high quality TV shows, like the medium's there.
Yeah, like these guys, I mean, there's plenty of people doing it, but they're modelling themselves off of Rooster Teeth in the US, which started as like that. They used to record themselves playing Halo in multiplayer and then do dubbed voices over the top of it and stuff like that, for like Master Chief and everything. And then now they've turned into this giant production sort of house, and they've got all these different shows coming out of it and stuff. And that's I think what they're trying to do with Back Pocket, because they've got 3 or 4 shows already running on a weekly schedule. Like, it's a lot of work. It's pretty cool. But and they've got a big Patreon behind it. Anyway, so watching them, I thought, hey, if these guys could do it, they're schmoes. Let's give it a crack.
Yeah. Then you realise it's actually a lot harder than what it seems.
Yeah, it's not easy.
I've listened to a lot of Tim Heidecker from Tim and Eric.
Yeah.
He has a podcast called Office Hours, and I've been listening to that, and it's fantastic. And I thought, I can give that a shot. Actually try and do it. And it's like, all right, it's actually very hard to come up with. The thing that's hard is coming up with ideas for the show. Like coming up with like, all right, I've got an hour to 2 hours of stuff I want to do on there. What can I do or say for 2 hours that is interesting? And it's like, I got 10 minutes. What else can I do? So it's tough to be that creative for that period of time on a regular basis is very difficult.
Yeah, and there's like the energy that you bring to that sort of thing. Like it's cool when you're like this right now. We're catching up. We haven't seen each other in a long time, and everything, and you're excited by it. But the energy that some presenters and these like professionals or semi-professionals can bring to the podcasts and shows and everything is like next level. I wish I had it.
It's hard to pretend being interested in things that you don't care about.
Yeah.
That's a real skill to do that.
And doing even just doing this with cameras, not even forget about the live part with cameras. Like normally, you'd be talking or James would be talking, you'd hear tap 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 tap. It's like you're looking at something else.
Yep.
And you just it's going to talk about this for the next 3 or 4 minutes. I can start looking at this, but it's there's a lot of skills at play, that's for sure. Someone else also asked, long answer short, I don't know if we're going to do it more often or not. We'll see how it goes. But it was cool to play around with all the bits and pieces and actually get it set up and see how it all worked. And someone else asked, I think it was Matt Hickey, asked if what we were using to do it. It's a program called Ecamm Live, which is available on Mac only, but it's similar to your OBS or Streamlabs or something like that, but just allows you to. It's got an easier, nicer interface to punch it out to Facebook or YouTube or Twitch or wherever you want it to go, and set up a bunch of scenes and things like that. But yeah, like I said earlier, most of the learning curve wasn't in Ecamm. It was more just figuring out how to do animations in After Effects with transparencies, a transparent layer to put the image in. But Ecamm, there is room for improvement. Let's say that is the way they do things. The layering's a little complicated, but yeah, it was an interesting exercise, that's for sure. We should probably talk about something to do with tech, I guess.
Yeah, some tech news. Tech stuff.
Why don't we just pick a topic each around so far in 2020? What's the biggest impact or biggest piece of news that comes to mind for you?
For me, probably the thing with 2020 is how big the tech companies are now. Like coronavirus has made their values skyrocket. Like Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Google, uh, Alphabet, and Microsoft. Those five companies are worth like $5 trillion almost, like 5 trillion US dollars. Like they've got more value in those companies than like the GDP of almost every country except the top 10 GDP. So they're incredibly wealthy, and their wealth, like in the past kind of few months, has gotten even more insane because of in USA there's so much money being lent out to investors. They don't know what to do with it, so they just buy. I'll buy some shares in Microsoft because they're doing all right, and they're just pumping up the value, and that's just been like they're like doubled in size in the past year, and were already massive businesses. So to see them grow that much, it's kind of scary, like how much control they have over this industry where we're used to tons of competitors doing different things. There's just not a lot, not a lot of that stuff happening in anymore. Those five companies kind of rule everything.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts, hey? Like, Amazon is making so much money off this pandemic, like just with everything moving to the cloud. I still don't think anyone's using Chime, which is the video conferencing software. But just it's absolutely insane how much money is behind all of them now. Like
Yeah.
Bezos,
He's the richest guy in the world by like twice as much as anybody else.
it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like,
And the amount of control that like someone like Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg have over their companies is insane too. It's quite unusual. Like Bezos is still like the majority shareholder of Amazon, so he owns the majority of shares in $1 trillion company, and so he's like no one can tell him no because it's his company.
yeah,
No matter how many like you would need all the other shareholders to kind of gang up on him and go, look, no, you can't do it. That's, and that really happens because they all love Jeff Bezos because he's given them so much wealth. So same with Mark Zuckerberg. No one can tell him no because he owns most of the shares, and the shares that he owns have special voting rights. Same as Jeff Bezos. They're set up in a specific way so that their shares outrank in terms of voting power within decisions of the company. That they outrank, say, if I just buy them off the market, their shares are much more influential on how the company runs. So, whereas normally in a company that size, it'd be dozens or 100 different shareholders with big stakes. So there's no one major thing, and the leader of the company would not be the same person that's also the major shareholder. So the control that they have, nothing changes because they can't sack themselves essentially. Like Mark Zuckerberg cannot leave Facebook really. He has to quit. No one can sack him. So that kind of stuff's been, I think, the most obvious thing about 2020. I think people have realized that these companies are not your friend anymore. Not that they weren't in the first place, but that over the course of this year, we realized that we put up with them now. We don't really enjoy them, really. At least maybe it's me and a big part of the tech scene. Like when 10 years ago, we wanted Google to succeed. We wanted Apple to succeed. We wanted Microsoft to make innovative stuff, do cool things. But now it's more like, we put up with them because they're just so big and they're there. That kind of the passion for those companies as like an industry is just gone. And 2020 really made that harder. That to me is how disconnected they are from the real world and just their size and their the amount of money that they have.
This is from 2018, but like Bezos makes $2,500 a second US.
So that would at least double now because the share price of Amazon has just skyrocketed in the past 6 to 9 months.
And the average wage of an Amazon worker is $28,000.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if he sold his Amazon shares, he could like build like a school in like every city in America. Like he could buy every homeless person a house and give them $1 million each, and he could cure homelessness. Like, you know, there's things he could do with all his money, but he doesn't do it because if he does, if he sells his shares, he no longer has control of the company, and that's what it's about for him.
Mm.
And same with Mark Zuckerberg. If he could sell all his shares and make a real impact on the world in a good way, you know, but they don't, because then that means they're simply the CEO rather than the owner of the business.
It's crazy, hey? What to do with all that cash?
Yep.
Like, what can you do? It's just, it's too much.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And at a certain point, it's like, you know, why? It's actually rude that you're not doing anything with it besides keeping the shares in your company. Like, this, people would love to own Amazon shares, but you know, he keeps them for himself, and yeah, richest guy in the world. Yep, yep. Yeah, the other one I was thinking about. Do I talk about Facebook being jerks again? I've done that quite a lot lately, so I'll keep it. You know, something that's slightly different. Yeah, well, that's wild. Did that happen this year where like Saudi Arabia, like he was being like catfished by Saudi Arabia or something, and like he downloaded some pictures of like a naked woman that he thought was messaging him, and it was actually like Saudi Arabian intelligence trying to hack his phone, and and he got divorced because his wife saw the pictures and it came out in the press, and then he was being blackmailed, and he put like a message in the newspaper saying like you can't blackmail me. I know there's pictures of me. I know I'm having a divorce. So yeah, that was, I think that was this year. I can't
Yeah,
quite
wow.
remember.
Okay. Apparently, I didn't have my mic on when I was talking about he could marry marry someone and get divorced, so I've just turned it back on. Um, uh, my pick, well, it has to be about the new consoles coming out, which
So I was going to ask you if you pre-ordered any.
I have. I have actually. No, I tell a lie. I have. I was in a bit of a bind about what to do. I skipped on the PlayStation 5.
Mm.
I don't know why. I just wasn't in the mood to.
Well, apparently there's not many actual new games, is there? Like most of them are
Nah.
PS4, or they're going to be on Xbox anyway.
Yeah, most of the games that are coming out are sort of out for this generation, then they'll give you a little upgrade, like download texture pack or whatever that'll sort of get you across onto the PS5 version. But yeah, I just wasn't inspired by it at all, and I didn't like it. I think the PlayStation 5 looks ugly as sin.
It does look pretty weak, doesn't it? It's
Yeah,
not as sleek as the PS4 was.
no. And then it came around to Xbox time, and I went, oh man, I'm going to get an Xbox. So and I've got the trailer for the Xbox playing in the background, but
Well, I think if I had to pick one, I'd probably go to Xbox because of their new. They bought
Bethesda,
Bethesda,
yeah,
and yeah, and it's like, well, the games that I actually like to play are by Bethesda and id. So it's like, all right, I'll yeah, they're going to be on at least on Xbox first, or Xbox they'll be better.
yep,
Even if they do keep them cross-platform, I think you can probably guess they're going to make the Xbox version faster or superior in some way. And it's part of their bundle. Like they got that sweet bundle where you pay like $20 a month, $30 a month, and you get tons of games to play with the Xbox Game Pass.
yeah. Xbox Game Pass is an absolute like almost must have if you're playing games these days. Like it's such a good deal. And now, even just after this like $7 billion announcement, Doom immediately came to Xbox Game Pass. And, they've said that all of the exclusives that are coming out, there's a game called Deathloop, which is coming out for PlayStation exclusively on a timed exclusive. All of that stuff's still happening, but down the track, who knows, you might have to have Xbox Game Pass, which is a very different way to what different approach to gaming that Microsoft have right now compared to Sony's, which is like, let's just get all these awesome games and charge people a subscription for it, and they can play it on their PC, they can play it on their Xbox, they can stream it via xCloud, which is coming to Australia next year, which is kind of like what was Google's crap one? Stadia.
And Amazon has one now too. Luna.
Yeah. And Luna is basically the version of Stadia that they promised originally. So, Xbox Game Pass is super attractive as someone who plays. If you play a lot of games, like, I'd definitely be investing in that. There was this crazy deal when it first came out. Like, I think I have 2 years worth, and it cost me $1.50 or something.
Nice.
It was weird.
The only thing is they can take games away, can't they? Then you can't play anymore.
I think if you've downloaded them, you can still play them if they're on your Xbox. But I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure that's the case. But they do rotate what's available, it's way better than PlayStation Plus, which is the sort of yearly subscription.
I just noticed that Gavin in the channel, hey Gav, he said that Xbox All Access convinced him. What is that? I've heard that before. Is that the one where you buy it through Telstra?
Yeah. So it's like a monthly. You pay $22 a month or $33 a month, depending on whether you're getting the Series S or Series X, and then it's like a 2-year subscription. That gives you the Game Pass included as well, and the Xbox itself. And then in 2 years' time, you upgrade to whatever's coming out then, or just don't have it anymore. So, but you had to be a Telstra postpaid customer to buy it, I think, which is a little weird.
On its own, you had to have like a Telstra service attached to it.
Yeah, basically. So go on their books somehow. It's interesting. There you go. Josh just said, Game Pass games can leave. Games with gold are yours forever. So,
is that Xbox Live Gold?
Yeah, classification of a subset. Yeah. And to be perfectly honest, I just like the look of the Xbox Series X.
Well, I like the Series S. The S is quite nice with that. The little speaker
circle, yeah.
Yeah, but the S is the weak one, isn't it? Like, it's 1080p.
Yeah, it's 1440p, I think it can push, or and it has a slightly slower SSD, but really it's basically the X, just not 4K. And for for most people who there's not 4K TVs are definitely out there and have been out there for a long time, but they're not exactly dime a dozen. Like, I've got one, but and I'm assuming you do. Is you still?
No, I don't actually know. I've got a old 1080p Kogan TV still. I'm waiting for it to break. It kind of broke like about a year ago, and I was excited. Like, yes, it finally broke. I can buy a new TV. Then I turned it on again and it started working fine. So, yeah, still got to put up with that TV. I can't buy a new one until it breaks. So, it gets the job done. So, yeah.
I just put a video of the Xbox Series S, and the guy presenting it has a beard that's just, I don't know, he looks like a warlock or something. It's very interesting. But good on him. It's a massive beard. Jason Ronald. Yeah, like that's classic. Nice work.
I haven't owned an Xbox since the 360. So I had a 360, and that was nice. So yeah, maybe I'll go back to the Xbox. You can find one. They're not like they're sold out for months, aren't they? Both PS5 and Xbox.
Both. You could probably get an S somewhere though. I don't think they were quite as popular, but
But definitely not for Christmas.
probably not. And boy, there's no point. There's nothing coming out that you can only play on the new one. So why not just wait?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway,
I've got more time to play Death Stranding then.
Yeah, definitely. I the other thing that really made it tough for me is that the RTX released, or Nvidia released a new RTX 30 series,
yes.
and they are so much better than like the 20 series before it. It's just insane. It's so much so that you cannot get one of them anywhere. They're just completely sold out across the board, even the aftermarket versions. And apparently there's some people having issues, like some of the aftermarket ones are just freezing. But Nvidia normally make like one they call the Founders Edition, which is the base, and then everyone comes along and customizes it and overclocks it and makes it a little bit better and stuff like that. But this time around, Nvidia's version is actually really, really good and looks really good as well. And so it's made it really difficult to get your hands on it, and they're actually a good price as well. So good price. Like you're still spending $800-900 on a 3080.
Yeah.
Or more. I think it's 1100. It's not cheap. But and then there's the 3090, which is kind of even
the beast.
Yeah, more crazy, and will give you like 4K at 90 frames a second or something ridiculous. So.
Yeah, I was reading the benchmarks of the RTX 3090. The 3090 pretty much you can play any game you want at 4K, 6 frames per second with no issues at all. Pretty much like any game will play it fine. So if you got a 4K monitor or 4K TV, plug it into one of those gaming PCs with an RTX card, you got the best graphics that you can get.
Yeah, and there was a bit of conjecture over whether you needed PCIe 4 in the card, or but apparently you can get away with 3, and it pretty much uses all the bandwidth that's available, and you might lose a couple of frames per second out of it as well. But yeah, whatever. I suppose if you're in that game and you want the best of the best, you probably want to get every frame per second you can out of it. I don't know. I think that's probably it for me. The consoles, they're probably the most exciting thing. Like normally that's all E3 announcement stuff.
But that didn't happen. No. There wasn't E3. Was there even like a virtual E3?
They kind of tried, but not really. Like most of the games companies just held different
their own little events.
Yeah, their own events and spread them out, which worked really well. Like what Nintendo's been doing for the last 4 or 5 years, and then they get to control their own narrative completely. But Apple, I don't think have done anything super exciting this year.
Not really. I mean, I'm looking forward to the ARM or the Apple Silicon Macs.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. But really, it's the same. Like, it's the Mac. Like, they're not changing it too much. It's a Mac just with a different CPU in it.
Yeah.
It's more. I'm interested to see what Apple can do without any constraints around the heat and the power. Like, have it on in a Mac Mini. What can that do compared to the Intel Mac Mini? It'll be locked down. It's obviously Apple's turning it into the Mac is like an appliance now, pretty much. Like you can't, like it seems to me like after Big Sur they might try and lock it down to like just apps from the App Store. I don't know why they would. It seems like a pain to install non-Mac Store apps in Big Sur, and on Apple Silicon where they control the whole stack, they control the CPU, everything happening there. It's going to be, the Mac is an iPhone just with a bigger screen and a mouse. Which is, I don't blame them. Like, it's what people really want on their computers. It works well. It's hard to fuck it up. But, I've been using it for so long. used to just tinkering around with it, the Mac is more of a, all right, I get my work done on this one, but the Linux machine might be where I, explore different things and do creative things on there with a computer compared to the Mac.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that all the dev work that I do, which is in like Docker containers and using Visual Studio Code and those types of things, like you if it keeps going the way that it is, it might be better off just running a Linux box and doing it that way.
Lots of people I know they've moved from developing on a Mac to a Linux setup instead, and it's been fine for them. So
well, we've been going for an hour and a bit, so we might call it an afternoon for the episode. Where can people find out more about you, Anthony?
thesizzle.com.au. You can grab a free trial there still, and on Twitter, Decryption Twitter.
And you can follow me at Raj Deut. Could have done graphics for all of this stuff. If
Yeah.
Can't pull my finger out.
Actually, the best place is if you go to decryption.net.au. It's got all the. I recently made a nice fancy website that has all the crap that I do on the one spot.
Oh, that's good.
That's what I should be mentioning.
Yeah,
and you can see Twitter, Sizzle, everything there.
Just follow me on Twitter, Raj Deut, or reckoner.com.au, which that's what this thing is.
And I noticed there's a new design theme for
There's a new theme. That was Lockdown 1.
Lockdown 1 project. So this is Lockdown 2 project.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Well, thanks everyone for checking it out on the live stream, and thanks for those guys that were contributing to the chat. That was really cool too. Who knows? Stay tuned for episode 1 potentially of a Reckoner Live. We might see if we can coax James out of retirement to jump on as well.
Why not?
See how the bandwidth takes that one. Thanks everyone. We'll speak to you soon.
Yeah.
Bye.